Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of the FinTalk Show at Pros AI, where we spotlight the entrepreneurs revolutionizing technology, services, and business across the global markets. For those joining us at Pros AI, we specialize in helping technology and fintech businesses scale revenue and also reduce operational costs using AI tools, in particular with go-to-market strategy and partnership development. If you're looking to scale your business, please stick around, or if you want a free growth consultation, please drop us a DM and we will get back to you. Our guest today, I'm very excited to say, is none other than Hicham Gwemiri, President of Advent Blanket and former CEO and founder of HTC Technologies. He's also a published author of ServiceNow CMDB implementation and recognized thought leader in IT service management. Welcome to the show, Hicham.
Thank you for having me today, Osman.
I have to start by saying congratulations on your recent exit. That's a massive achievement and fascinating to see that you didn't write off into the sunset. You immediately jumped into something new. That's clearly a story about what drives you as an entrepreneur. But can you please tell our audience who are you, who is Hicham, and share a bit about your entrepreneurial journey, please?
Yeah, so my name is Hicham, which means, I believe, a good person in Arabic.
Right.
So my story is very simple. I was born in North Africa, in Algeria. For people who don't know, it's between Morocco and Tunisia. It's the largest country in Africa, and I believe the 8th in the world. So I moved to Canada to Montreal when I was about 18 years old. Finished my studies in Montreal, studied programming, technology, development, and so on. And I've been in the space since 1999, so it's about 25 years.
Right.
And I've been lucky to be in the service management space since my early days, for 25 years. So I've seen the progression, where we were, the tool sets, the platforms, today's challenges, and excited about the future after 25 years. Still excited every day.
Wow, I mean, as you're saying, I can't imagine what this was 25 years ago, because a lot have changed technology-wise. But I'm sure you'll share that with our audience. But you've also got this incredible quote: "I build as if I've already seen the future." What's the vision behind this statement?
I think you have to push yourself, right? I think I obviously missed out. I had a different view on SaaS back in the days. I remember I got asked at the conference, at the Computer Associates conference. I'm not sure if people listening to the podcast know who CA was. So back in the days, Computer Associates with Unicenter TNG were the front runner. That was before ServiceNow, along with the Remedy, and it was all on-prem. So back then we had to go to visit the clients, right? Go to the basement, to go to the data center, go to the rack, install the SQL servers, install the operating systems. So that's what, today you go to a website. I work a lot with Halo, ITSM, for example. And you go on their website, you click on a button, and you have an instance within 5 minutes. You're all logged in, and then you can send them an email and turn that instance into a live production within an hour. So that's impressive. Right. I mean, when you think about it, right? You go from, but back in the days, you had to spend 3 months just to install the product, right?
Wow.
So that changed. And then I remember when SaaS started to pick up with ServiceNow, and back in 2012, 2011, I was kind of like, I don't know if companies are going to embrace it, right? Security wise, and having your service management in the cloud. And then, that was the norm within a couple of years, right? So I guess I was wrong on that. So since then, I'm like, you know what? I'll embrace the impossible. And today, I mean, things like, can you build your own service management solution, right? You know, can you, like, you know, this morning I got approached by a company in Switzerland,
Right.
and I had a call with the guy, and he was telling me about a solution they have, like a Workato, like, you know, like a Workato solution with APIs, and you connect between the systems, and it's like, it's cheaper, it's more.
Right.
And I looked at it and said, I'm sorry, but that was 10 years ago, 5 years ago. Today, I mean, most service management solutions, they have their own integrations. All the solutions that we deal with today are API enabled. So those type of solutions are kind of, you know, obsolete, right? Why would you pay for something when you can build it? So I think, yeah, you have to really embrace the future, you know, position yourself in a way to
Right.
say, okay, what tomorrow can look like, right?
Right.
And I always say that tomorrow is gone. I mean, by the time you think about it, it's someone else has done it. So
Right.
it's an interesting perspective how things move in technology.
That's quite insightful. Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, tomorrow is gone. You know, by the time you think about something, somebody has already implemented, gone a few steps. I'm sure the person you're talking to today was quite surprised when you said, well, that was 5 or 10 years ago. And he thinks he's coming up with something quite original. Taking us back to 2017,
Yeah.
when you founded your previous venture, HTC Technologies, you experience you know you had experience in other big companies. You know, what specific insight or frustration made you say, well, I need to do something different?
Well, I mean, it best said the same conversation, right? You know, are entrepreneurs born,
Right.
or you become an entrepreneur with time, right? I guess the environment you grow in is interesting, right? You know, number one, you definitely have the genetics, or
Right.
let's call it the ADN. You know, you can
Right.
have two brothers, two sisters, brother, sister that go in the same family, same background. Someone bring in, you know,
Yeah.
one becomes an alcoholic, the other one doesn't touch alcohol, right? You look at,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not sure if we can be political here, but you look at President Trump, for example. You know,
Right.
I read his books before he became president, and
Yeah.
politics aside, he doesn't drink, right? You know, so he doesn't
Right.
drink. I'm not sure if people know this, but he actually never
Right.
touches alcohol, even though he sells wine and things like that. But his
Right.
brother was an alcoholic, and I believe committed suicide, if I'm not wrong, in his mid 20s.
Wow.
But he doesn't drink, right? So, you know, same family, some upbringing, you have one that dreams to becoming a president and achieves it and achieves
Yeah.
everything. And then the other one is depressed and kills himself.
Right.
Interesting, right? So I think
Right.
for me, I've always wanted to do more, right? Growing up in North Africa, you definitely have a different perspective than someone who is white and growing up in Europe or North America, right? Things as simple as if
Right.
you're in Africa or
Mhm.
some of those countries, you
Right.
actually need a visa to travel, right?
Right.
Which is
Mhm.
something that most people don't know in the West.
Right.
Why do I need a visa? What's a visa?
Yeah.
So I think growing up, you tend to have some dreams, but then I always dreamt of, like I said, becoming an entrepreneur. In 2010, started
Right.
my first venture, and I dreamed of creating a big team. And I
Right.
was doing mostly CA Unicenter.
Mhm.
By 2012, I was still by myself. I became an agnostic architect, so no solutions, just really advising on process and people and making sure project gets done
Right.
with large companies in Montreal and North America.
Mhm.
By 2016, I was at McGill University for a 2-year contract and wrote the book, the first CMDB version of the book on ServiceNow. I think it
Okay.
was the second published book at the time on the ServiceNow subject. Published it on Amazon for $1. And the book started to get picked up, so the National Football League in New York invited me to go pitch. So I
Right.
went there, signed a project with ING Bank, worked for them for 6 months for free, waking up at 6 a.m., doing calls, showing the value. Then they got me like a nice contract. So that's how it really started, giving free work, going above and beyond. The book definitely helped. People started to contact me, positioned myself. So I was still by myself. And then, the work started to trickle down, more and more, and then started to hire people. And that's how HGC came about. So it's really short for HG Concept. And in 2017, I was joined by my partner at the time, and we were able to grow it. He brought in more like the organizational thing. And then, it slowly signing clients, traveling, working, hiring young talents, training them, and it became what it became, at the end. So it's been quite an adventure, and then obviously once the company was sold, to a larger organization in Canada, I jumped into, for various reasons, without going into details, started this new venture and focused in different things. Initially focused on legal offerings for SMB, but in my mind, it's always been interesting to think about the challenges, I believe, going forward. And sorry if I do talk a lot. How do you frame it tomorrow? AI is interesting, right? So I've been really working in AI a lot, trying to think outside the box. And the good thing is, stepping away from the ServiceNow world and ecosystem last year, it's been a year now, almost a year, October 8th, stepping away from that ecosystem and having a fresh eye, meeting people with Halo in the UK, doing Halo projects, meeting people from Ninja One, Huntress, Verima, stepping away from that world and looking at different ways, and also looking at AIs and, companies like Lovable, which I've been using a lot, Supabase as a backend database, ChatGPT, Claude AI, all these products, you get a different perspective. So one thing for sure, you don't have to be smart to see it coming. I believe most organizations, at least large ones, will be smaller in nature.
Right.
So where in the past, the badge of honor of success. So I say, Osman, you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner. You come in with your friends and you say, hey, we're 200 people now, right? So your success was determined on the size, right? Because because it was people intensive. So the larger you are, the more clients, the more people, the more successful you are.
Right.
Now it's actually the opposite. If you come in and say, hey, we're 200 people, you're actually looked at in a different way. They're like, why haven't you optimized yet, right? Even though we know, we're big proponents of intelligence and artificial intelligence and leveraging automation and things like that, the human will always be at the center of it, right? Absolutely. It's just you can do more with less, So I think now the badge of honor, you see it like you look at Lovable, which raised what, $200 million on the $2 billion evaluation lately in the past month, and then less than 60 people. It's impressive, right? So I think Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, keeps saying, not sure if it was his idea, where are we going to see a unicorn, right? $1 billion plus company valuation with one person, right?
One person, yes.
Yeah, it's I think we win. I think we win.
It's not unimaginable. It's not unimaginable. With the way you put it now, I've also worked in big organizations where the bigger the size of your team, the more senior you are considered. But now it's about scaling down. It's about why do you have a bloated team? Why do you still have such a big organization? And this is what entities are looking for now to scale. Not necessarily scale size-wise, but scale revenue without necessarily increasing their.
The challenge is if you're already like a legacy company that's been around for a long time, depending on those same processes and people, how do you do it without becoming inhuman, right? So how do
Right.
you build the balance between, business scalability or business needs versus the human aspect, right?
Right.
How do you balance it out? Do you still need to be a 10,000 people organization, right? Obviously some jobs will not disappear, right? And we all
Right.
know that,
Yeah.
the kiosk uh, experience at the airport sucks. We all
Yeah.
like to talk to people, right? So it's, I don't know, it's a challenge. It's interesting. I don't think we'll solve this in this podcast,
Mm.
but how do you find the balance between people, processes, and these platforms that we kind of use to connect, right, in tech? Uh,
Right.
I think it's going to be quite challenging to do so.
Right, right, but then going back with them, you are in the ServiceNow ecosystem for quite a while. Is there something in
Yeah.
particular that you saw in ServiceNow that others missed?
Well, I mean, ServiceNow is a brilliant platform.
Mm.
It's it's been quite interesting to see the evolution of the platform, right?
Mm.
Going from a pure service management ticketing system, 10
Right,
years ago, to the first company they acquired in Israel for the IT operation side for discovery and service mapping, which was quite unique at the time. The ability to map services.
right.
Now it's common. I mean, Dynatrace does it. Verima, one of the products I work with in Atlanta, they do it.
Yeah,
You know, Nice to mention that they integrate with ServiceNow, they integrate with Aventi, they integrate with Halo, with different solutions. Uh,
yeah,
so technology becomes democratized, right?
right,
Kind of, right?
right,
Back in the days, you look at Airbnb or you look at Uber, you have to have data centers, right? You have
right,
to have, big scalability, big money behind it. So
right,
you needed to do that. You need to have your own servers, your own teams, and what comes with it. So the ability to innovate is different. Now, today, I mean, you can use vibe coding, you can use a Lovable-like system with a server-based backend.
right.
And now Lovable, this week, they announced the Lovable Cloud and Lovable AI. So
Mm.
basically, it's embedded within, so you don't even need to know the backend or AI integration. With one
Right,
account, you're able to build with an idea, right? You're able to build the booking system for hotels or for people. So the
right.
question becomes, how do you sell it? So if you
Yeah,
have more products out there today, so you have
right,
more Ubers or more Airbnb, how do you get people to use it on both ends? On
right,
the service provider side and on the consumer side. So
right.
it's not about products anymore or ideas. Now it's about, selling, right? How do you put it
That-
in people's hand in a
Right.
noisy world, right? Now that the world is noisy. But ServiceNow has been quite an interesting journey. I mean, you look at ServiceNow, they started as a ticketing system. In 2015, that's when I had the aha moment. I went to Knowledge 15. It was like 9,000 people at the time in Vegas. And they announced something quite unique at the time. They
Okay.
announced the developer program for free,
Right.
which
Hmm.
means as a developer,
Hmm.
as anyone with an email, you can go to developer.servicenow.com and you can register and request a free instance.
Right.
That was, to me, what made ServiceNow today. Because most of the other product platforms at the time, like Salesforce and all the others, you
Right.
had, in order to learn, you know, you had to work for a partner of that
Yeah.
platform or for a
Right.
client. Like,
Hmm.
and even if you work for a client or a partner, it's not like you get a free instance to play with, right?
Right.
So
Right.
ServiceNow, what they did, they basically said, we're going to make it free for anyone with an email, no question asked. You can request an instance and you have access to documentation. You can turn on any plugins that's
Right.
available and you can learn. And when I saw that, I'm like, wow, this company is going places. So I made
Wow.
the pledge at the time and I said to myself, I was like, this aha moment, they said, no more, working on CA Unicenter and the others. I actually stopped working on those clients,
Right.
made the business decision, and I focused my energy on ServiceNow, and I wrote the CMDB book because I
Right.
had access for free for that instance. So I was able
Right.
to basically, you know, look at the whole thing and write the book. Take the concept I learned from previous products and write the book. So it's been quite a journey. And now, with ServiceNow, there's like, 30 product lines. So if you look at, the workflow high level, then you have product lines, you have processes. So, it's a really true service management solution. It's not, cheap, right? But that was back then. Now, to me, no company will ever use all the platform. Right? It's impossible. It's impossible to. If you're a new company, yes, maybe you can say, what? I look at the stack. I don't build it outside. Most existing companies, they have something for something, right? So you'll be able, let's say, maybe use service management with operations management, with maybe GRC, right? Maybe you extend into HR. Maybe you extend into customers. Now, ServiceNow, they have CRM. So do you replace your Salesforce or do you integrate? That's always a question. Then it becomes a fight. So I would say the challenge around a platform like ServiceNow is really not the product. It's really not the price, because price, anyways, you can always, look at the value and the ROI that you get back, right? It becomes a governance issue. So it becomes a human problem. What I mean by that, it becomes a war between the different departments. So and that's been the challenge with these kind of platforms over the years. If you start with one department, let's say a ServiceNow-like platform started with the service desk, right? But then you evolve and add HR, add customer services. These add security, These departments, they have their own budgets, they have their own, So who takes control, right?
Yeah, especially
I always say it. Who's Captain Kirk?
Right.
Star Trek. Who becomes Captain Kirk? Right. So who leads? Is it the people who have ITSM? I mean, it's not necessarily. It's not an ITSM platform. So who leads? Right. So you need someone to make a decision. You need someone to be in the captain seat. So who's that? So the governance, centralized, decentralized, and that's always an interesting thing. I make a joke. I say I grew up in a dictatorship, right? Which is nice. I mean, I'm not saying dictatorships are nice, but at least it's a central command, and as long as you keep, you don't say anything bad because the government, you're safe, right? But so that's a centralized command. I'm a fan of the democratized the dictatorship. And dictatorship is a harsh word, and I use it because it makes people think, What I call that is I call it a centralized decision making, decentralized execution. Right? So basically you have autonomy to decentralize the execution, but within boundaries from a centralized point of view or a centralized objective of the company, of the organization.
Right.
So put the jokes aside. That's what I think is. So governance, it becomes the key here for a successful, Salesforce implementation, ServiceNow implementation, any kind of those, products implementation.
Yeah, you achieve the highest tier as a ServiceNow elite partner status. What does that actually entail, and what does it take for you to be an elite partner?
Yeah, that was last year when I left. So I'm not sure what it entails now, right? I'm not in the ServiceNow ecosystem as a partner, right? I'm more like an advisor, helping people on advising and giving advice, right, from the outside. But I'm no longer involved in delivery or operations or any kind of that. But back in the days, I mean, obviously the partnership has changed a lot with ServiceNow.
Right.
And I think now, at least it was back in the days, to achieve, that kind of status, you need a number of implementations, right? Successful implementation with clients. You need the number of people with certifications. So if you drop below that, if you don't have successful implementations and successful certifications, which are attached to people, then it's you don't maintain status. So it's which is normal. I mean, at some point, every platform that starts, they will sign up any partner that's willing to jump in, right? It's and then with time as they grow, they want to wind it down and make it harder to achieve statuses that should represent the quality of the team that is being provided, right? And then the work.
Very good, very good. And you touched a bit on this, but how does AI change things in the space, in ITSM space overall?
Well, I mean, AI is nothing new. It's we've always had automation, right? We always have intelligence. Now you just have a better intelligence, right? But ServiceNow always been, ServiceNow and other platforms, they've always had some kind of intelligence, right? So now, obviously, ServiceNow keeps investing into the platform on the AI capabilities, which are, I believe, extra, right? Mm-hmm. So the ability to automate tickets, the ability to automate decisions, the ability to really replace an agent intake, right? If you're able to automatically have an engine that looks at the tickets that are coming and be able to identify root causes and propose a solution and act on it. That's why I hate the word agent, to be honest, or AI agent or AI employees. It's really an automation task, right? When you say the word AI employees, it's kind of like you're replacing people with robots, right? Which is a really bad connotation to it. But intelligence will continue to grow in tech. It's just growing faster than before. Definitely, it opens the door to different challenges when it comes to the SaaS model. If the SaaS model today is based on licensing employees, so licensing, fulfillers or licensing agents, and you're adding automation to basically not necessarily get rid of agents, but at least, do more with less. So how do you license going forward a product, right? If you have less people doing the work because now you have more automation, how do you license a product? So I think, there's some reckoning coming for the SaaS model that's been a successful model for the past 10 years, 10, 15 years.
Right. And you've written some multiple books on CMDB. It's clearly an area of passion. And you say that CMDB is the foundational process on which service management program is built. Why do so many CMDB implementations fail in your view?
Well, I think, most projects fail, to be honest. I think, it's a scope creep, different. CMDB back in the days, now things are different with technology, with AI, with number one, I think the keyword around CMDB is less is more. What I mean by that is, I think the challenge most CMDB projects or most projects, they tend to be introduced from a technology standpoint, right? So if you're doing a ServiceNow CMDB implementation, most people will focus on discovery, turning on discovery right away, or focusing on the technology, right? And that's the wrong thing, and that's why things fail.
Right.
Because you have not resolved the operation side. So it's interesting. So the way I see it is like a reverse triangle, right?
Right.
So if you go like a reverse triangle like this, so you construct the CMDB from the bottom all the way up. So you construct it from what I mean, uploading the data, but then you define it from the up going down, right?
Down.
So when you start, you say, okay, so I have locations, I have data centers, I have locations in the cloud, I have racks, I have infrastructure, right? Then on the infrastructure, I have, containers, servers, whatever, then I have applications installed. And then what? When you build it up, when you design it, you have to go from the up level, which means you say, okay, what are the services that I define? And usually what I like to ask the question to people is like, tomorrow, so something is done now, right?
Right.
So something is done.
Mm-hmm.
What is it in your words? Like, so for example, when I was working at McGill University,
Right.
they had the system for student registration and teachers booking and those things.
Right.
So if that's down, that's huge, right? That's critical. Business is down.
Yeah.
Students cannot attend the classes and so on.
Yeah.
So you have to understand, every company is different, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm a bank, maybe my banking system, if that's down, my business is down. If one ATM machine is down, then business is not down. It's just that ATM machine in the branch. So
Absolutely.
so you need to define, so that branch becomes, so if the branch is the location as a CI, as a configuration item, and then the ATM machines. Now, if I see that I have 20 ATM machines been going down, right, in one location, like one region, now I might have a serious problem coming up. So it's important to understand data. And that's what CMDB is all about. It's what kind of data you need, but if you definitely start from the product without thinking about the people and the process, you're going to fail. And that's as simple as that, where I tell people, okay, let's you turn on discovery, you discover all the servers. Okay, now I introduce a new server, right? Who introduced the server? Is it through a project? Is it a person adding a container? Is it something that someone just goes on the cloud and start automatically? And then, okay, how do you know which application is being deployed on that moment on? And that application is serving which customers? And if this down, who's the business owner? So these are the type of questions. So I come up with the principle in the book. I call it the depth, right?
Right.
And the width. So basically scope and span, right?
Right.
So what is your scope and what's the span? So the scope is, and I always make a joke because of death and CMDB, right? Failure and death. And I say, well, you're digging a grave, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So how big and how large, right?
Yeah.
And what tools are you're going to use? So the tools are the tech products we know. Now, how deep you want to go, how fast, right? Are you using a shovel? Are you using a machine, heavy machinery, and so on? So, and that's why most. So it also really the question is most MDB fail, like any other project, is scope and span. Tools, people, processes. The problem is we all think products we get excited with products. That's what it is, right? We get excited with technology. So we get excited with being shown a map, right? Of servers and applications and business services. Those things are sexy, but doing the hard work, understanding the business. One way to design a CMDB, I always tell people, you're opening the restaurant, right?
Yeah.
So number one, you have to decide what kind of restaurants you're doing, right?
Right.
So there's the back end, which is your servers, which is your kitchen, right? So that's your back end. Those are the tools you need to cook, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You have ingredients, you have processes to put in place, and then you have the menu, right? To present to customers when they come in with price. That's your service catalog.
Yeah.
So you have to link your service catalog to your backend menu, because if you're a pizzeria, you're not going to have spaghetti. You're basically selling pizzas. So number one, you need an oven for pizza making.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that determines your backend technology stack, right?
Absolutely.
And then you need to determine your front, right? Your menu. So you're not going to put a burger on the menu if you don't have the ingredients or you don't have the machinery in the back. So it's important to understand your clients, your services you provide, and what kind of technology stack you have to provide those services.
Yeah, no, that's quite a good analogy. I think I've seen a lot of projects actually fail because of exactly those reasons. You don't think about the people, the processes. You're mostly excited about the tools. But looking at ITSM in particular, it's been dominated by large enterprises. ServiceNow have had over 2,000 clients paying $1 million and above. But small and medium-sized companies are growing into this space. What's driving the shift, and why have SMBs historically been underserved, in your view?
I mean, to build a solution like ServiceNow, you needed a lot of resources back in the days, right?
Right.
And things have shifted where, before 20 years ago, 25 years ago, it was mostly on-prem, right? So you need to build I remember we were installing Service Management Unicenter, the product. We had CDs, right? DVDs to go put it into the rack and install. So you move from there. So the initial SaaS offering, especially with ServiceNow and some of the large organizations, it was, now I don't have it on-prem, I have it in the cloud, but it's your cloud, right? So ServiceNow, for example, had to build those huge data centers.
Right.
So that was, so you need to be a big company with a lot of money and investments to build data centers in each regions and the team to support and all that comes with it, right? So it's technically you're shifting it's like, it's not my problem, now it's your problem. I just care about having that as a service. But you still have to deal, so ServiceNow has to deal with running the servers and the backend of the whole thing. You just don't see it as a customer, right?
Right.
But then, with AWS, which is genius, now, you don't need those data centers. So you have upcoming products that basically just install on AWS, right? So then that shifts completely the pricing model as well, which becomes more affordable to smaller organizations.
Right.
Because now you don't have all that overhead.
Right.
And you can be in the region. So AWS takes the overhead. So it's been an interesting shift, right? Now we're going into a new shift, I believe, where, if you can build your own service management solution, would you do it?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then coming, I mean, that makes a lot of sense now, because as you're saying, breaking it down, it makes it a lot more affordable, and probably this SMB still get the same benefits. It's just that they couldn't afford the solution.
Well, you have to define what SMB means. SMB means different things in the UK versus the US or versus Europe. In the US, the small and medium business is a whole different definition. So to me, I really look at it in a different way.
Right.
We look at SMBs from a size of employees and the size of money, right? Like the revenues generated. So I believe in the US, small and medium business, medium is like less than $1 billion and 1,000 employees.
Right.
That opens the door to a lot of businesses. I really look at it as the maturity of the IT organization. Because you might have an organization of 100 people, but they have a mature IT organization. So they want to automate. And I've seen companies of 3,000, 4,000 people that don't have a service management in place. They don't have a mature organization of IT.
Right.
So it's tough to, ServiceNow defines it in different ways. They define, obviously they have the sectors, but they define enterprise, which is above 5,000 employees versus commercial, right? Commercial accounts. So yeah, I mean, it leaves the door open to a lot of companies that are maybe 1,000 employees, 800 employees with 25, IT folks, right? 50 IT people, not, small organizations that might go to a Halo or might go to Exurent or might go to, a different system or a free service. There's so many free service management solutions too. So it's a very broad space, right? It's very hard to say this product is good for this or good for this. I think it depends of the maturity of the IT organizations and the maturity of the business, to go with the ServiceNow or to go with Aventi or to go with the Halo system or to go with this is the reason why we have so many car brands.
Right.
And within the car brands, the car makers, you have different models, right?
Absolutely.
So it's obviously, if you're a Morgan Stanley, right, huge company, or you're Kaiser Permanente, or you're a huge company like that, you're gonna go with the huge players. That you have no choice. You're gonna go with Workday, ServiceNow, Salesforce, right?
Yeah.
That's how it works. Now, if you're a 3,000 employee, you have more choice. Now it becomes a choice of the UI, pricing, I mean, pricing to a certain degree. I mean, in a way, I hate to, talk about pricing a lot, right? In the end, pricing is about the value you get, right? If you go buy wine and I give you wine of $9 in the carton, right? Never understood why, people buy wine in a carton.
Yeah.
And then, you have wine at $20, $30, for example, a nice bottle, right? From a nice Chardonnay or something, and you have a $100 bottle. Most people will gravitate toward the middle one, right? If they can afford it. Even if they can afford the 100, they'd be like, I'll just go with this one. I don't know. I just go with. So, put pricing aside. It's about value. It's about marketing and branding. I mean, image is everything,
And bringing us now closer to now, you moved from that space. You of course exited, and then you started a new venture. Most entrepreneurs would probably take a break, but that wasn't exactly the case for you. You almost jumped in straight away.
Well, I wasn't part of the exit, to be honest.
Okay.
Let's clarify that. I moved away months before the exit happened.
Right.
So I was still involved in the company, but I moved away from daily operations and decisions. That was a decision I made to move away and think about, the space I want to be in, right? Started to look more into AI and different solutions, right? And legal solutions and different things. So I wasn't part of the final exit. The exit happened, and my partners that were left at the business that I started decided to exit and do that, right? So good for them, congratulations for them, all good. But I mean, look, I don't believe in retirement. I cannot stop. I work 20 hours a day. I'm working on 10 books, working on different products. I study, so that's just me. That's my ADN, right? So it's hard for me. Like, I don't think about retirement. I don't think about these things. I think, I rather continue to work on my own term and learn. So this past year has been an interesting, adventure, right? From a learning personal perspective. I wrote a book on cybersecurity using ChatGPT, on an idea of, mixing cybersecurity with past leaders, right? In the last 3,000 years, introducing, blending history with current cybersecurity challenges. I'm about to publish a new book about systems and divinity, the aspect of God and AI. It's called, Divine Systems, where I introduce the concepts of, obviously introduce, the religions, the prophets, and compare, religions, prophets to protocols and AI in an interesting way, right? And my whole principle behind it is to teach and share about history, geography. And I think, leveraging AI, I just finished writing a comic book using AI as well. And I turned it into an application. It's about superheroes that basically, in the AI space, so introducing AI concepts and AI things through a superhero lens and fighting around cybersecurity and AI. Because people don't realize that everything is connected with tech. So how can you make it in an engaging way and leverage the same tools that you think will replace you someday? So I think it's all about, some people will be eaten by it, unfortunately, like we saw, in the past. I mean, if you were a horse owner back in the early 1900s, right? And you had 200 horses, let's say, that are, powering the city of London or New York, right? Because everyone is using carriages and your horses. And now the car comes in. And you're like, no, I will not be replaced. I'm rich. I have horses, I have stables, I have, I have carriages people are using. The horse has been around for 50,000 years. Genghis Khan conquered Europe on a horse. Napoleon Bonaparte was on a horse when he had his wars. We used the horse for centuries. you had 10 horses for every person on earth at the time.
Yeah.
And then, within 10 years, the car was around and that's
everything.
it. Your business was gone. Maybe
Yeah.
you made enough money, but definitely your kids are not going to be as rich as you were, right? Or your grandkids. That your monopole just vanished, right? So I think it's the same thing happening today. Can you multiply yourself? Can you turn this podcast into a multi-language, right? I speak multiple languages, but it's interesting can we turn it into Chinese, which I don't speak Chinese, but can we turn it into Japanese, right? Wow. So it's can you 10x yourself, right? Without replacing the human, you still have human interaction. So I've been working on this idea, which hopefully I will be finishing this year. The idea of doing a live podcast with a famous dead person.
Interesting.
Yeah. So basically, the whole idea is that you're on one screen, or let's say we're two people here, but we are the third person. So we have Napoleon Bonaparte with the face, and we speak to Napoleon Bonaparte, and then the whole idea is that he shares about the stories, right? Yeah. So we're teaching people about past stories, right? Which is, I think, is gone today with, most people, you see them, they're just scrolling and watching videos. So knowledge is key. In order to survive tomorrow, you need to know yesterday. Right. But tomorrow doesn't happen without yesterday. That's the reason we have what we have today. There's a whole thing of sequence that happened, right? So my whole thinking is, can we teach yesterday to have a better tomorrow, right? Through different ways. So I'll let you know. Maybe we'll try it out together once I'm done with the
absolutely.
podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you're ready, let's have a chat.
Soon.
Now, but what's your vision? What's your vision now for you? What's the future? What are you?
My vision is, to be honest, my vision is to be happy. To be content and happy. To be, my father always said, he was an honest man, and he always told me, we grew up in Algeria, very corrupt country, right? As I won't say any African countries, but a lot of them are corrupt.
Most. I come from Kenya. I've lived it.
You know what I'm talking about.
Right.
And he always said, I don't meddle in that because I want to sleep at night, with my eyes closed. And I think it's, for me, honestly, family, kids, today I'm doing this, tomorrow I'll do something else. But really, I'm trying to find ways to have fun with AI, with the advent of technology. That's where the name of the company comes from, Advent Blanket, the advent of Jesus Christ, that's something big that happened in history. Today, the fact that we say 2025, that time of the coming of Christ is very, very important in our history. So, that's where the name comes from, and then blanket is really the feeling of being secure, creating an advanced blanket, or, that brings security and warmth. So businesses, especially my focus is on small and medium businesses, to be able to sleep at night. That's what I'm focused on more now, with the fun projects, right? I have a few books in the works. I have the comic book app. I have a few apps, one app for drivers to connect with lawyers and automotive, one app for caretakers to take care of their family, one app for turning, private clubs into digital private clubs and connections. So, a bunch of apps, a bunch of projects that keep me busy.
And who would you say is your ideal customer profile for your new entity?
Honestly, small and medium business. That's my focus. The business, the dealership owner that has 24 dealerships that doesn't know IT. Yeah, ideally, my focus would be, the lawyer that has 50 employees that doesn't know IT, that are challenged with cybersecurity, with AI. That's one side of the business is that, right? The other side is advisory side, which I'm focused on a lot. Large enterprises, that basically are looking for, advisory on not necessarily ServiceNow, but advisory on, how this is my universe, right? Well, how do I make sense of my universe? right, of my universe. How do I go from Miami, where I am, to England, where you are, right?
Right.
Am I going by plane? You know, which plane? How can I afford? Am I swimming?
Yeah.
I'll die most likely. You know, am I taking a boat and spend a month? You know, train doesn't work going there. So it's this whole discussion, right? If I'm going from, you know, London to Surrey, am I walking? When do I need to get there? I know my end result, right? I need to get there.
Right.
I need to define when. I need to define when, how, and I need to define how, you know, and why. Why do I have to be there tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I have to be there tomorrow. So I have my why. I have to see family, friends, whatever. Okay, so it's going to take me a day to walk home. Okay, I need to get there by car. I need to get there by Uber. So I think that's what businesses are. You know, this is where I am today. This is where we want to be, right? We want to improve our bottom line. We want to generate more business. We want to, you know, be good with our customers, right? We want to be secure. So really, when you look at what I call the pillars, right? And I'll leave you with this because we have to finish soon. When I look at the pillars that I deal with, there is, you know, secured enterprise. That's number one, right? You have to make sure that your enterprise, regardless of the size, is secured. Number two is connected experience. You know, how do you make sure that you have a connected experience for your users, for your employees, for your partners, for your suppliers? And number third, how do you innovate rapidly? How do you rapid innovate, right? So, you know, because sometimes, like you said, you spend months doing a project.
Right.
By the time you're done, especially today, reality, I mean, that product is already obsolete. You know, like that project is already done. Like, you're like, man, I'm dealing with the whole new reality.
Absolutely.
You know, like just this morning or yesterday, ChatGPT, OpenAI, the parent company, they announced that they're releasing the CRM within ChatGPT.
Right. Wow.
And the HubSpot stock and all the CRMs tanked, right?
Wow. Yeah.
A couple of days ago or last week, they released the buy-in experience integrated into Shopify from ChatGPT.
Right.
If you're a small and medium business, right?
Yeah.
And you're not listening to this, and you're not watching, and you're not keeping up.
Yeah. You wiped out. Yeah.
You're like the horse owner. You're gone.
Absolutely. You could be working on a venture that absolutely is going nowhere. No, Hicham, that's been amazing. It's been fascinating having you share your insights. I think we've really packed a lot in there for our viewers. Is there anything else that you'd like our viewers to take away from today?
No, I think, you know, dreaming is free. I always say this, you know, dreams are free. And I think never stop believing in yourself. I mean, a lot of people say that, which is kind of like a bit of bullshit, right? And I think really the key is you never know where you're going to be, right? You know, so, but if you don't wake up, if you don't take the first step towards the journey that you want, you will never get to that destination. And sometimes when you get to the destination, then you set a new destination. Because that's what life is. As long as you're alive and you're breathing, there's always a better tomorrow.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the key. Once you're under the ground, kind of like a CMDB project, like I mentioned before, then it's done. And we don't know, maybe it's not, but at least for now, there's a certainty that, you know, as long as you have good health, you breathe in, you know, keep studying, keep an open mind, keep sharing, then you'll be successful.
That's a great place to finish. Hicham, where can our viewers and listeners connect with you if they want to connect with you, learn about your books?
My email, you can add it, is Hicham, Hichem, at adventblanket.tech, advntblanket.tech. The website is adventblanket.tech, which we're about to change soon. Or LinkedIn, you know, just Google my name, Hicham Gwemiri. LinkedIn would be the best place to connect with me.
Absolutely. Thank you all for tuning in. If you found this episode as insightful as we did, please hit subscribe and share it with someone in the tech space and SMB community. You can also find more episodes and other resources on our website. on YouTube, Spotify, and LinkedIn. Hicham, thank you again very much for sharing your insights and on how you build, scaling in the ITSM space, and your new venture. We hope to have you back in the show once things and I'll be interested to hear about the new idea of the episode. And to all our listeners and viewers, thank you so much for joining us. Until then, keep building and keep working.
Merci beaucoup. À la prochaine.